Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. You are watching SOS, Saving Our Sex Lives, one bedroom at a time. My name is Lakeisha Hines, and I am so happy to be with you this evening. Hi, Cedarlyn. Hi. How are you? You guys, this is one of those topics that I'm like, the people don't really want to talk about this. They don't want to talk about this. They really, really don't. Because, some people want to stay, I think, where they are. And you don't really know where I'm coming from, right? You don't know what I'm going to say. You have no idea, but you're thinking that you know what I'm going to say about sex after separation. So, anyway, I'm excited to get into this topic. It's definitely a controversial one. And I think, people have different viewpoints about it. Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie said, I'm here for this topic. Well, welcome. But yeah, so again, it's one of those controversial ones, and people have different opinions about what they think should happen after separation. And so tonight I'm going to be giving you pros and cons of sex after separation. We're going to talk about some of the challenges, of course, right? And really just kind of break this down. So I will get through, hopefully, all of this tonight. But if not, then I will continue next week. But let's go ahead and dive right in. So is having sex with your spouse, keyword, spouse, okay if you're separated? That is the question. So I'm going to say this to you guys. Having sex with your spouse is never just physical. Having sex with anyone is never just physical, right? We know specifically though with your spouse that it's going to bring up all different types of emotional connections and vulnerabilities and deep felt sensations as well as memories, right? Accompanied with everything physical, right? And so when you guys are separated, your feelings can get very convoluted. It can get very confusing. And, one spouse may say to the other one, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Then let's say a couple days after that, they have sex. And then a few days after that, regret sets in because now they remember like, oh, shoot, we're separated. We're separated for a reason. And it's because we're not in a good place. So now one spouse might feel misled and then the other realizes that they did the misleading, right? They potentially misled their spouse into thinking that they actually want something that they don't, which is to get back together. And they may not really, really feel that or really want that. So, one of the reasons why we're instructed not to, from a biblical standpoint, not to have sex outside of marriage is because sex sends mixed messages. And like I said, it clouds our judgment. And so, if a spouse says, I don't feel in love, but then have sex with that spouse, it's always a huge mistake. And it's because again, you're sending a mixed message. You chose to separate. You chose to separate for a reason. And you guys have got to take the time to get an idea of what it means to not be in each other's lives all the time and not be in each other's lives completely. There were underlying issues along the way that got you to the point of needing to separate. And so those loving feelings don't go away, they're still there. But when you act on them, it can really get in the way of you guys being able to address the real issues that are there. And if you don't address, let's say, emotional disconnection, then your physical connection will not last. Sex may be good, it may be amazing, right? But you're not dealing with the emotional disconnection. You're not dealing with the issues that are there. And so that physical connection is going to be temporary. It's a temporary fix. It's a band-aid. Okay. And so also what can happen is you get this false sense of reconnection, but it will not last. That connection will not last if you are not dealing with the issues. You know, one of you eventually is going to be dissatisfied. Somebody's going to be confused. They're going to realize this is not enough. I need more. And then the same things that led you to separation will emerge. And then you'll be right back to square one. The reason why a lot of times we do engage in sex after separation is because it's familiar. And you know, just because you guys are separated doesn't mean that you're not still physically attracted to one another, right? That attraction could totally still be there, and it can make it like really, really hard to resist your spouse. But you got to do your best to resist, right? Because you got to deal with the real issues, and sex does nothing but create confusion and distraction. Okay. So you got to deal with those other emotions that got you to that place of separation. You cannot get clarity of your feelings about your spouse, about your marriage, if you're still having sex with them many times. And, you know, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, right? Resisting being intimate, but you got to use some willpower and you got to practice some restraint until you guys have an understanding. Sometimes the sex might actually work to heal your relationship. So that's why you're going to get pros and cons for engaging in sex after separation. All right. Hello, Stephanie. Hi, Daryl. You guys drop where you're streaming from. You know, I always want to know where you're checking in from. So make sure you drop that here. All right. So I can shout you out. Okay, you guys. Pro number 1. As I said, it might actually help to bring you back together. How, Lakeisha? Well, when you guys make love, you get this burst of a hormone called oxytocin. Oxytocin is so powerful because it actually plays a significant role in creating bonds between people. And oxytocin is also released when we touch, when we're caressing each other, when we're kissing. But during sex, oxytocin hits an extremely high level. So making love with your separated spouse might actually create stronger desire for connection and closeness on both sides. Now, here's the kicker. If you are doing other things to resolve your issues, this could actually be the added value that helps you get together again. So, keywords: if you're doing other things to resolve your problems, if you are working on the issues, and then you incorporate intimacy and sex into this equation, it might help to bring you guys together again. Okay, so it's all about your motive and your intent. If you're trying to get closer together and you're trying to experience another level of closeness, adding sex might actually help because it increases that release of oxytocin. And I'm telling you, oxytocin helps to bond us and create those feelings of closeness. Hello, Stephanie. Hi, Callie. Welcome, welcome. All right, you guys. Pro number 2, having sex is good for you. Did you guys know that? Did you know it's good for you? Okay, so I'm not asking if the sex that you're having is good. That's not my question. That's not my question. My question is, did you know that sex in general is good for you? Did you know? Drop a Y if you knew, drop a N if you didn't know, because I want to know what you know. So, sex has been shown through research to reduce levels of anxiety, tension, stress. It can actually help you even sleep better. And we talked about this. I want to say, gosh, I'm probably like my first or second episode. But specifically for men, guess what? It can help reduce irritability. So, ladies, if your man is a little cranky, sex can actually reduce irritability. So, not only does it help with anxiety, tension, and stress, help you get better sleep, reducing irritability, also, it can help your heart. It can increase your heart health. It can also reduce cramping during menstrual periods. And it decreases the likelihood of breast cancer and prostate cancer. And there is so much more. So there are physical benefits to having sex, and hopefully you benefit emotionally as well. But I want to point out that reducing the anxiety and tension could possibly ensure that you both might be able to achieve some level of clarity over what direction you want to go in, right? Because you, at some point, even when you're separated, you have to make a decision about which direction you're going to go in. Are we reconciling or are we transitioning to divorce? All right. So, having sex can also help you guys to be able to communicate easier and calmly. It can help reduce some guilt over the separation because you're still connecting and coming together. All right. So with closeness, right? Getting closer together. Okay. I see some of you knew that having sex was good for you. Okay. I see you. I see you. That is awesome that you know that. All right. So pro number 3, if you crave sex, it's better that you do it with your spouse versus going out there trying to find somebody in the streets to get your needs met. Okay, so finding someone new to try to sleep with. There can be some level of excitement with that, but you get the most fulfillment when you make love to your spouse, because why? You have history with them. And hopefully, there's a loving history. So when you sleep with someone else, most likely that will transition you to divorce before you even had a chance to make a decision about whether or not you wanted to have a divorce, right? So, it can just create so many problems in your relationship in the present and future if you sleep with someone else, that's not your spouse. It can just cause so many issues and so many problems. All right. So if you're craving sex, it's better, if you had to choose, it's better to do it with your spouse versus a new person. Pro number 1, it can increase your level. Excuse me. Sorry, you guys, I'm getting over something. But it can actually increase your level of intimacy. And this is really relevant if you have had a lack of intimacy in your relationship. So re-engaging in sex might actually give you guys an opportunity to connect in ways that maybe you haven't in a really long time. And so you can actually overcome maybe some of those past failures toward intimacy, right? And flip the situation, change the narrative to your advantage. If there was a lack of intimacy and you guys are aggressively working toward becoming more intimate, again, this can work in your favor. All right, pro number 5. It actually can rekindle the fire that may have gone out. I caution you guys, seriously, if you are going to engage in sex after separation, you have to think about how you're going to feel if things don't improve after you guys have had sex, or if your spouse decides after sex that they don't want to get back together. You know, maybe you guys went into the situation with expectations, and those expectations were heavily relying on the outcome of your experience, of your sexual encounter with your spouse. So if you're going to go there and have sex after you've been separated, you have got to discuss all of this with your spouse before you have sex, not after, not during, before. Because you want to make sure that everybody is on the same page and that you guys have realistic expectations. And mentally and emotionally, you have to try to prepare yourself for the possibility that, you know, having sex during your separation, it may not repair the marriage. So if you don't think you can handle that, if you don't think that, you know, you can be able to move forward, if it's going to hinder your ability to heal, if you have sex during separation and you guys do not get back together, then you might want to stick to your boundaries, right? And just stay completely separate, you know, and stay apart during your separation if you don't think that you can handle it. All right. Okay. Last pro. It truly can make you fall in love again. It really, really can. But it's an investment, right? You have to invest in making love to your spouse and invest in wanting to work on falling in love with your spouse again. And you wanted to fall in love, you know, want them to fall in love with you as well. And, you know, we're creatures of habit, right? We like to repeat what works. Like, why reinvent the wheel, right? So there are so many reasons why sexual intimacy can help your marriage. And so if you and your spouse can rekindle, if you can increase your level of desire for each other and, you know, make you want to spend more time together, and if that's what you're desiring, sexual intimacy can get you in that place. As long as you're not just checking off a box, going through the emotions, having sex out of fear, using sex as a control mechanism, then sex during your separation could actually push you guys toward falling back in love again. So those are the pros. We're going to take a quick break, and then I will come back and I will give you guys the cons. All right. You are watching SOS and can't wait to give you these cons. You know, I got to give you both sides. We'll be right back.
When 45 men from all walks of life come together in one place for one purpose, there is a collective harmony that produces an amplification of power that leaves an impact on the lives of men that cannot be erased. A fraternity of legendary men, all at the tipping point, on the precipice of greatness, meeting for one weekend to turn their worlds inside out. For the first time ever, the Foundry Experience. Not an event, not a seminar or retreat, but an opportunity to come face to face with the man you were always destined to be. If you want a life that's better than the one that you are living, meet us January 2023 for the Foundry Experience.
just want to say that I just think the men got jealous of the ladies because our Unearthed retreat was like bomb. Okay, it was amazing. And I think the fellas got a little jealous and they decided they're going to do their little foundry experience. Just I think that's what happened, y'all. But fellas, man, what they have planned for you, what is in store for you is going to be powerful. It's going to be amazing. So you need to have your face in the place. Ladies, send your men. They need to be there. They need to be there. All right. So tonight we're talking about sex after separation. I gave you the pros. And so now we're going to talk about the cons of having sex after separation. Con number 1, it can make healing so much more difficult. If you guys have decided, you've made a conscious decision that you are not trying to reconcile, all right? And you know for a fact that your spouse is still hoping that things will work out. When you have sex with them, it creates this false hope that maybe we'll get back together. But you already know, you've made a decision that that's it, that you're done. We're not reconciling. It's going to make that other spouse's healing process longer, more difficult. And I mean, separating is already emotional enough, right? So don't add to their pain by having sex with the person who you know wants to get back together, who wants to reconcile, but you have no intentions of reconciliation, right? It's almost cruel. So don't do it because it makes it worse for all parties involved. Con number 2, it can set you up for disappointment. Sometimes, you might think you're over your spouse and you think you can separate the sex from just, oh, this is just about sex. I can separate my emotions from the sex and it's just sex. When you have sex with your spouse, there are going to be powerful emotions that are there and may develop if they're not there. Strong desires to be with your spouse again, strong desires to get back together, strong desires to reconcile, but that can cause deeper and longer lasting hurt for you if you do finally end up getting a divorce. So you just have to be so careful with your decision to move forward with sex after separation because you guys are still in limbo. You're still trying to figure things out. You don't really know what it is that you want to do. And as I said, sex can really cloud things. Your judgment, it can be so confusing. And then once you get that clarity and you realize, you know what, it's just not going to work, and you divorce, that sex just makes it, again, that much more difficult to move away from each other. Con number 3, your spouse may be involved with another person. We hear this all the time. Couples separate and they feel like they get a pass to sleep with someone else because they're separated. No, you are still legally married. Therefore, it's still adultery. It's still cheating. It's still infidelity. It's still a betrayal, even if you are separated. So now you guys start having sex. They're sleeping with someone else. Basically, you give your spouse the message that you're okay with being one of their lovers. That's the message that you're sending. So if you do not want to send that message, then you need to avoid the sex. Now, I can't tell you what to do with your bodies. And I definitely cannot tell you what to do in your marriage. It's your choice. It's your decision. It's your marriage, right? So you have to decide whether or not you're going to go there. All I'm saying is spend some time processing the pros and cons and make an informed decision. Try not to use your brain. Try to use your brain and not just your heart. And more importantly, use your brain and not your body. Okay. So, we think that sometimes too, if we're intimate with our spouse, even if they're sleeping with someone else, if we do it better, if they enjoy sex with us better, that they'll choose us over their little boo thing, side piece, their new sexual partner. And so that's not always the case. And if they don't choose you, then again, you end up hurt. Because they may not choose you. So the only reason you really should consider getting sexually intimate during your separation is if both of you are committed to trying to rebuild a connection between the two of you. That's when you do it. Okay. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Angelina. Hey, Daryl. Welcome. Excuse me. All right. Con number 4. Sex after separation, you guys, is a high risk strategy. It is a high risk strategy because, again, of the level of emotions that you experience. I told you oxytocin is released when you have sex. If you guys do not reconcile, it can be devastating. But that release of oxytocin, making you feel happy, making you feel close, bonding you guys together, it creates this sense of hope, and it creates this sense of love for your spouse, and it's going to increase the desire that you have for each other and for getting back together. So if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, you will experience grave disappointment and literally just delay your healing. So this strategy of having sex after separation, as a way to bring you guys closer together, should only be considered if you feel strong enough to handle it. And both of you need to feel strong enough to handle it. Now, this is what the experts say. This is what research says. Now I'm going to tell you what Miss Lakeisha says. If you guys separated, you separated for a reason. Okay. There's some issues you need to address. There's some issues you need to deal with. And if somebody decided that they were going to leave the situation, we're going to separate because I don't know if I want to be with you. But then you come calling or texting talking about, can we hook up? What's up? What you doing? They come at you that way. Make them miss your good stuff. Okay. Make them miss your good stuff. You either get all of me or none of me. That's what I'm saying. But your relationship, your marriage, you got to do what works for you. Okay. All I'm saying is, seriously, consider the pros and cons. Consider the pros and cons. All right. Weigh out your options. Communicate. You guys have got to have some heartfelt conversations about your expectations and how it is that you desire to move forward. What is it that you want? Another thing too, oftentimes you're not being open and honest with each other. You know that you can't handle it, but you engage anyway because you're thinking that if you do it, that it will automatically make your spouse come back. And that is not the truth. You cannot use sex as a way to reel your partner back in, because oftentimes sex, especially if sex wasn't the thing that got you guys separated in the first place, if there were other issues that led you guys to separation, those are the things that you need to be dealing with and not the sex. Okay. But if you guys are in an agreement that we're separating for whatever the reason may be, but we feel confident that we can still continue to engage in sex and mentally and emotionally we can handle it, but we're working on trying to reconcile, then that makes sense to me. But I can't tell you how many times I've seen that work. Oftentimes someone ends up getting hurt and it's not fun and it doesn't feel good. And it's just not the way to go, especially if you know that you can't handle that. Okay. And one of you is saying, I have no desire to reconcile. One of you wants to reconcile. You throw sex in the mix. Someone's going to get hurt. It's inevitable. All right. So I want to thank you guys, as always, for watching. I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for chiming in, letting me know where you were streaming from. You guys don't have any questions tonight, so I don't have any questions to answer. But next week, we're going to be talking about sex over 50. Okay. So if you are over 50, tune in. If you're under 50, tune in. Why? So I can let you know what to expect, so I can get you prepared, so you'll be ready when you hit 50 and above. All right. So again, thank you for watching. My name is Lakeisha Hines. You're watching SOS, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.